Well, that's a way to start. Yeah, here we go. Not exactly bing bong like 2 years ago over the Celtics on opening night. The streets of Manhattan aren't crowded with wild, crazy, victorious Knicks fans. They weren't last night, but that's okay. It's just opening night, and we'll talk about this all. Let's get right into it. No BS, episode 569, talking about the Knicks opener. Their home opener was their first game of the season, which took place last night at Madison Square Garden against the Celtics. Let's go. Episode 569 of BD4. Welcome to BD4, an RJ Carbone podcast. BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. BD4 is a 5-star show on Apple Podcasts, also available in video format on YouTube and Spotify. So thanks for stopping by, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Champion of the world, turning, looking, see ya!
Anthony for three, bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied! Time!
Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand.
Yankees win!
All right, let's do it. Let's talk Knickerbockers. First game of the year underway in the books, and we are going to discuss it. We're going to dive in right away. So welcome back to the show. Just, real briefly, if you are new here to BD4, thank you for stopping by. Yes, the Knicks lost last night, 108-104 at Madison Square Garden. They start their season 0-1 there. I contribute this loss to three things. Free throw shooting, a bad Brunson and Randle game, and the defense in the pick and pop. Specifically Mitchell Robinson. Those three things, I think, were the key contributors to last night's loss. It aided the Knicks to losing and also blowing that 6-point lead with about 3.5 left. You got to credit Boston. I mean, Tatum is incredible. 34 points, 11 rebounds last night. Kristaps Porzingis is adding a new wrinkle to that offense. As much as we all hate him, he's now become the nemesis. Not that he wasn't already. Now he's a Boston Celtic. So it sucked, and I knew this was happening. I knew it was like inevitable to me that he was going to do what he just did. And he drops 30 points, 5 3-pointers on the Knicks last night. Boston's tough. They are a favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference. They might be title favorites. But so it's a tough loss, but there are encouraging signs to take from this. And the Knicks last night, they played the way the Knicks are going to play. They played to their identity. Gritty, no quit, tough. That alone will lead to some extra wins. They will fight, scratch, and claw for every millimeter. They're going to be a tough team to beat. They're not going to be a team that anybody wants to play. That's the way Tom Thibodeau he's established that identity, right? This loss was a reminder that this team will win games. That this team might not always play pretty basketball. A lot of the games will look like it did last night. Ugly, muddy. They're going to make a ton of mistakes, but they will certainly work hard for 48 minutes and bust their ass, and they're almost never going to be outclassed unless they play the Milwaukee Bucks. So with that said, let's dive into some things here. Let's go over the summary of the game real quick, and then we'll pick apart some specific storylines. Before that, let's head to our first break, and we'll be back in 20 seconds. Stay with us.
We appreciate you sticking around and listening so far. When you have a chance, be sure to open YouTube to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you're already watching on YouTube, be sure to head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate your feedback and are always looking to improve. Now, with that all said, let's get you back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. So the Knicks last night, both sides really came out the gate very slow. First game jitters, and the Knicks missed their first 7 shots, missing some free throws early on, which we'll talk about. Missing a lot of easy bunnies at the rim. Finally, they get their first field goal when Mitch flushes one down for 2. But they keep struggling. They keep struggling throughout the first quarter. Boston even goes up by double figures late in the first. Quickley then checks in off the bench. He injects some life like he always does. But the Knicks still having trouble stopping Kristaps Porzingis. And so after the first quarter, the Knicks are down 30-18. Second quarter comes. The bench is keeping the Knicks alive. Somehow they're staying in it, staying in distance. But the starters check back in mid-quarter with Quickley. Quickley knocks down big 3-pointer for some momentum, and Brunson and RJ finally get some kind of rhythm, back-to-back 3-pointers there. Hartenstein at the end of the second quarter throws one down to the buzzer, and it's 51-46. Boston at half. So it wasn't as bad as the score wasn't as bad as it felt. Third quarter comes along, and Mitchell Robinson in foul trouble early in the period, and he comes out of the game for Isaiah Hartenstein, who did an excellent job in his place. But the Knicks were just very sloppy, though. They were getting blocked. They turned it over a ton in the third. Boston, they were just picking apart the passing lanes, and Brunson has his moments in the quarter. And then midway through the third quarter, the Knicks, their starters mount a 10-0 run to come within a point. But again, the story of the game, they can't climb that extra step. They rapidly lose ground by the end of the third quarter, and all of a sudden it's 82-73 Boston. Fourth quarter starts. RJ, he's hot. He goes on a 7-0 run by himself. Later, it's he, Hart, and Quickley who eventually help give the Knicks a 4-point lead. Then you get in the period, Porzingis gets a tech for flopping. A little later after that, Brunson, he gets the tech for flopping. That's a new rule. I do like it. But Porzingis started just flopping left and right after that. And the Knicks, they look like they might pull it out when they go up 6 points late in the game. Quickley steals the inbound pass. Grimes knocks down the 3, gets fouled. And all of a sudden you get to like a little bit past 3 minutes, and the Knicks are up 6 points. You're starting to think, we can do this now. We're about to pull away in a game we didn't play well. But it all goes downhill from there. Technical fouls start hurting the Knicks. Porzingis gets hot at the foul line. He knocks down clutch free throws and another 3-pointer. Boston goes up all of a sudden 104-101, and they never really looked back. Randle misses some big free throws. He hit 1 out of 2 in the fourth there. Brunson at the end tosses up a couple of 3-point desperation heaves, and just like that, the Knicks lose 108-104. Again, free throw shooting, defense in the pick and roll, and Brunson and Randle not having their nights. So let's talk about it. As soon as I take a sip of Pepsi. This episode is sponsored by Pepsi. Just kidding. Someday. Free throw shooting, foul shooting is a big issue for this team. It was a big problem last year where the Knicks were third in free throw attempts, but they were 22nd in free throw percentage, which means they not only missed a big percentage of the free throws they took, but they did that on high volume. So they left a ton of points off the board last year. And last night it was no different. They were 14 for 26. That's 54% from the free throw line. They're called free throws for a reason. RJ and Quickley together were 85% on 13 attempts. Everybody else on the Knicks combined to shoot 23% on the other 13 attempts. Ugly. Unacceptable. You're not going to win like that. You don't deserve to win like that. There were so many key misses in the fourth quarter. Isaiah Hartenstein missed a free throw midway through the fourth quarter. Then Quentin Grimes misses that key free throw on the potential 4-point play. That was a big swing. Brunson misses a tech with 2 minutes left. Randle misses a crucial free throw in the final minute of the fourth quarter, which led to Porzingis grabbing the rebound, getting fouled, and then he was knocking down clutch free throws like they were open layups. So it's simple. You're not going to win basketball games missing free throws like madmen, unless you're the Denver Nuggets, right? They weren't a great free throw shooting team last year, and they won the championship. But the Knicks don't have a Nikola Jokic on their team, so they have to figure out other ways to win. And missing, 14 free throws or whatever they missed, 12 free throws, not going to help. So that was the first problem. Defensively, in the pick and roll and the pick and pop, it was a tough night. It was a tough night for Mitchell Robinson. He had a very difficult time containing Kristaps. KP stretched the floor on him as expected. He took him off the dribble. He brought him to the arc. He made Mitchell Robinson work. It's tough for Mitch to keep track of Tatum doing his thing inside the paint and then having to recover back out to KP. He was just out there scrambling on defense. Now, at the end of the day, the Knicks only allowed 108 points to Boston. But it's what's concerning is it's the same problems defensively where we talk about the pick and pop being an issue, those stretch fives, those 5-out offenses. That pick and pop is something we are going to have to figure out very soon. Because if the league starts seeing what we've been seeing the last year, it's going to be a bad thing. It's a bad sign already. And the Knicks Boston shot 31% from three, but they took 39 attempts from there. They launched. The Knicks let them shoot their threes, and that's what the Knicks do. Teams shoot threes against the Knicks because the Knicks give them the three. Boston's not going to always shoot 31% from there. So it's more indicators that concern me more than anything else with this defense. So they're going to have to figure out a way to defend the pick and pop because this league is getting more shooting oriented every year, it feels like. And having bigs that can shoot, it's going to hurt you if you can't defend that. 1 second. Keep getting my phone ringing. Man, people are still hitting me up about this loss last night. It's really starting to bother me. Brunson and Randle were not great. You cannot win games when your two best players combined for 29 points on 26%. That's just, it's unacceptable, and it's not going to help you win a game. The good thing is the Knicks only lost by 4 points in a game like that to the finals favorites. And you could flip it and say, how often will the Knicks see performances like that from Brunson and Randle together? Probably not too often. Brunson, 15 points, shot 6 for 21 from the field. He was missing his usual go-to floaters, those mid-range looks, so shots at the basket weren't falling. Porzingis was giving him a tough time. The good thing was, most of the time, Brunson was getting open looks. And I said that's a good thing because it's not like the defense adjusted to him and now he's got to figure something out. He did make some good passes. Kept the turnovers at a minimum. 6 assists, 2 turnovers. He knocked down some threes. Had a nice third quarter. He also, did his best defensively. He played the passing lanes well. 3 steals. Helped lead the Knicks to some fast breaks. But all in all, Brunson had issues finding the bottom of the basket last night, and that was a massive reason for the loss. Randle, 14 points, 11 boards, 7 assists, 5 for 22. Took some good shots, had some tough shots, especially in the second half. I thought were a little unnecessary. I thought he missed Grimes once or twice. It was very frustrating seeing Randle not be able to exploit the mismatch last night. The amount of times where he had Tatum on him, Derek White on him, Drew Holiday on him a ton. and he just had trouble finishing on them in post-up. He only had 5 free throw attempts. He missed 4 of them. He missed a whole bunch of shots in the paint last night. The funny thing was, on the pregame, on the ESPN panel, he joined them to talk, and he was talking about how he loves to utilize his power and strength, and then he goes out and has a game like that. And if I'm Joe Mazzulla, to see that he's putting his point guard on the opposing power forward, what does that say? He knows Julius is going to sometimes over dribble on the perimeter, overthink it. And with Porzingis down there last night, blocking things left and right, the Knicks didn't have that aggressive mentality. I didn't like Randle's defense either as a help defender. Similar shit off the ball that we saw last year, just ugly possessions where his man's in the corner and for some reason Randle's all the way on the other side of the floor in no man's land. In ball screens, I prefer switching Randle when we play 5-out offenses like Boston, but Thibodeau sees something else, I guess. He did have 11 rebounds. He's a monster on the glass. We know that. And he made some good passes and some smart reads, which is encouraging. If Boston sent help to the paint, he'd swing it to the perimeter. He hit Grimes up late in the second quarter for an assist. He found Brunson mid-third quarter for an assist when Brown came to double him. But overall, it was more of a forgettable night for both Randle and Brunson, and they need to bounce back against Atlanta tomorrow night. Turnovers were another issue. Now, they only had 9 in the game, but I feel like in the third quarter, I want to say they had at least 4, maybe 5. And that helped Boston destroy the Knicks in the fast break game. They won the fast break 18-7 because the Knicks kept turning it over and getting sloppy, getting blocked. The interior offense was bad. Not only did they miss free throws, they were getting blocked. They were missing wide open bunnies down there. Hartenstein did. Randle did. Brunson did. RJ did. All of them missing some very easy looks or, again, just getting blocked. They won the offensive glass 7-7, but they lost the points in the paint battle 42-24. So that should tell you right there. They shot 28% in the paint, 32% in the restricted area versus Boston's 80% in the restricted area. Boston was just sending multiple bodies around the Knicks. They swarmed Mitchell Robinson down there, made it difficult for him to get in his spots. They packed the paint. They made it tough. And there were times when they were just ignoring Josh Hart on the perimeter, even Randle, and they just packed the paint. They packed the interior with Tatum, with Holiday. So if I'm playing the Knicks and I saw the way that they get their offense is, the way they score is they put 2 feet in the paint, right? You saw it all last year. What I'm doing is I'm scheming them exactly like Boston did last night. Because while it was a 4-point game last night, the Knicks also shot 44% from 3. And unless they have this miracle improvement from three-point land this year, I'd say that 44% is more of an anomaly, if anything. So it's a little concerning to me to see them struggle in the paint. I just hope that teams don't see that and adjust, and the Knicks have a hard time scoring because that's the way they get their offense. They're not a good shooting team. So we'll see where that leads. Excuse me. If there's one player, told you we're sponsored by Pepsi. If there's one player who actually played well in the paint last night, Isaiah Hartenstein. He played great. Hold on one second here. Sorry, if you're listening, I had to pause it for about 5 minutes of the recording, but obviously not for you. But where was I? Hartenstein, did his usual. He was battling down low for rebounds. He was playing very physical like he usually does. And of course, because he plays physical, somebody every night it feels like has to get offended. And last night's pussy was Jaylen Brown, who got offended. Jaylen Brown with a huge night last night, 11 points. He just went off. Hartenstein, good night. He energized the entire Madison Square Garden at the end of that first half, kind of started changing the momentum a bit, to go into intermission after a big dunk like that, the putback, to see the Knicks down a few points despite playing so poorly. It was nice. Kind of got them into the half on a positive note. Defensively, he did a fine job on Horford and KP. His rim protection wasn't great, but offensively, he found his cutters as he usually does. Probably could have had more than 2 assists if the Knicks, again, didn't miss tons of layups last night. All the talk of the Quickley extension. Hartenstein's also in a walk year. And I'm telling everybody right now, this is going to be the best year of Isaiah Hartenstein's career. I feel it. I have a feeling he's going to play very well this season. Last season, Tom Thibodeau wasn't really using him properly in the first half of the year. He finally started doing so, realizing what he had in him in the second half. I think we're going to see second half Hartenstein for the entire year this year. And I'll go a step further and say he does so well this season for the Knicks that he's going to earn a second stint with them after the year is up. I'm not saying he's going to receive a mid-season contract extension, but I do think he has a career year, and then they decide to bring him back in the summer. He's important. He's very important. He closes a lot of games for the Knicks. He closed last night. And speaking of Tibbs' lineups, and I liked what I saw. I didn't have any big issues. I thought Grimes, Quickley, and RJ played very well together last night, and they continue to. They all complement each other very nicely, and those 3 guys playing well together is important not only for the sake of the Knicks playing well, but those are 3 guys who could very well be part of a deal this year. So you want to increase their value. What else do we got here? I love the Quickley, RJ, Mitch trio. They went on that late third quarter, early fourth quarter run last night. It was like a 20-6 run when they were out there. They play great. Now, some of those lineups with Josh Hart, RJ, and or Randle, those are the tough ones because even if it's just 2 of those guys out there at the same time, we run into spacing problems, and we've discussed this plenty. But you saw it some last night. In the fourth quarter, 8 minutes and change, there was a possession where Josh Hart was 1 pass away from the action on the weak side wing. And the Knicks attempted an empty side pick and roll between Quickley and Mitch. And Horford, who was tasked with guarding Josh Hart, left him open on the perimeter. He cheats middle to prevent the action. And so you saw last night the Knicks just way too many possessions like that where one of those 3 guys, whether it be Hart, Randle, or RJ, were 1 pass away from the action, and that completely screwed up the spacing because their defender could just cheat middle. So they're going to have to figure that out. I understand Tibbs has the roster he does, but it's also on him to mix and match with these lineups and find the way to utilize the Knicks. And, so he got some criticism last night, of course. Late in the game, the questioning begins with the guard rotation. You had Grimes, who contributed well last night, sit in the final minutes of the game because RJ and IQ were on their games. And like I said before, those 2 guys are ahead of Grimes in the pecking order. So if Grimes is on his game, it still might not matter if those 2 guys are also on their games. If Dante DiVincenzo isn't a New York Knick, maybe Grimes is getting more than 23 minutes last night, right? But he's here. And now it's just going to make this lineup a little more difficult to maneuver if you're Tom Thibodeau. It was Brunson, Quickley, RJ, Julius, and Hartenstein to close the final 2 minutes of the game last night. So there's also the question of, was benching RJ Barrett for that long before those final 2 minutes, was that a good idea? Well, if he didn't, he would have played the final 15, 16 minutes of the night. He finished with 36 minutes as it was. It was in the heart of the fourth quarter where he sat. It was an odd time to sit your second best player on the floor last night, but maybe change up the pattern earlier in the game so it doesn't lead to that. But again, I don't want to sit here and start playing substitution police in game 1 of the season. I had no legitimate qualms with Tibbs' rotation last night, so I'm not going to go there. I will say I kind of wish offensively, I wish we attacked KP more. Maybe even put him in pick and roll more often. But there were moments, like especially in the fourth quarter, where the Knicks tried hunting him, but Porzingis would make the early read and he'd pre-switch. There were also possessions where they did get the switch, but Brunson just couldn't execute. Boston at times even baited the Knicks by having Porzingis sag off of RJ Barrett to force the Knicks into early offense. There was a possession with 1:20-something left maybe in the game, and the Knicks were down 3 points. RJ's in the corner. KP kind of baits him to shoot that three, leaves him open a bit with 19 seconds in the shot clock. So I get he had the open look, but KP has the wingspan to close out. And at that point in the game, Boston had just went on that 9-0 run. You were down 3 points. You needed to kind of settle down and stop the momentum and run your half-court offense, get into some sets in a situation like that, and they didn't. So that's really, that's, again, it's a nitpick. I think last night comes down to those three things that we said: free throws, defense, and Brunson and Randle. But, just putting that out there. Quentin Grimes did have a nice night. 11 points, 4 of 7 field goals, 3 of 6 shooting in 23 minutes. Could have gotten some more touches for him early on. He didn't get a single attempt up in the first quarter. Was a little tentative, so it's not all on him. I also felt like he could have been searched for more. To me, it's always about getting Grimes into actions early. Jumpstart the offense. Get him going early. He's your three-point shooter. But again, RJ and Quickley were on their games last night from the start. And Brunson and Randle are also going to continue to get theirs regardless. So it's going to be tough to find everybody their touches. And Grimes usually is good defensively, but you saw the issue that we've discussed in episodes leading up to last night about the Knicks being undersized at wing. You had Tatum bumping Grimes tons last night. He was bumping him off him. He was shooting over him. He was just way too big for him. The first basket Jason Tatum made, he just completely muscled through Quentin Grimes in the low paint for a jumper off the glass. He muscled through him with a crossover spin, with that layup in the second quarter. Those turnaround shots, those step backs that Tatum likes, well, Grimes doesn't have the wingspan to contest that well enough. And we saw Tatum do damage with those shots, tons, in the mid-range last night. He had just 1 rebound in 23 minutes. So size might be something the Knicks have to upgrade and address at some point. I know we don't want any more lateral moves, and we want to save these assets for that home run move. But what if the Knicks are a middle-of-the-pack team, couple games above or below 500, outside the top 6 seeding in January, February? What then? I'm not saying anything crazy, but whether it's addressing power forward or addressing wing, they might have to do something eventually to get some more size. Of course, Dante DiVincenzo debuted last night. 0 points in 15 minutes for Dante. It's going to take him some time to adjust into the offense. He was missing all of his three-point shots. A lot of them were open looks. He struggled at the rim. He had that reverse layup that he missed. That's something I'm going to keep an eye on because it's been said that Dante DiVincenzo isn't a great finisher at the rim. We've noted this before. But he's here for three-point shooting, defense, and rebounding, and he didn't give you either last night, but not going crazy. Not going nuts. And I think that's it. I think we'll wrap this up with our handing out our Bing Bong Awards. Last season we only did it during wins, but I feel like we're just going to hand them out every game, just to see who was like the MVP of the team after the season. That'd be fun. So we're going to hand out our awards, our 2 Bing Bong Awards, one from the starting rotation, the other from the bench rotation, when we return from break. Stay with us here on BD4. We'll be right back. That was weird. We'll be right back.
You can also find us on social media. If you'd like, you can follow BD4 on Facebook, and we're at BD4Pod on both Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate you helping us grow more and more every day. Let's get back to it.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, and you are listening to episode 569 of BD4, where the Knicks drop it 108-104 last night to Boston. However, they got a strong performance from RJ Barrett, who is getting the first Bing Bong Award amongst the starters.
Bing bang.
RJ Barrett last night, 24 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, no blocks, 2 turnovers in 36 minutes against the Celtics, where he was 8 for 20 from the floor, 6 of 7 at the line, 2 of 5 from deep. He was good, man. He had one of the better two-way games you're going to see from him. He could certainly be a little better offensively, but defensively, he was the most impressive I've seen. He played some great defense on Tatum, some good defense on Derek White. Doing a lot of things that are usually problems for him. He was recovering on screens pretty decently, which has been a big problem for him. He was playing exceptionally well in the passing lanes, which is an issue for him off the ball. I mean, closing out very effectively. He usually struggles there. You saw all of that last night, right out the gate, too. I mean, there was a possession where Brunson helped off of Drew Holiday to defend Jaylen Brown. RJ rotates over to Holiday and contests the three very well. Don't see that a lot. There was another possession where Randle's man, Jaylen Brown, is in the corner wide open because Randle's, again, wandering in the paint. RJ rotates over to Brown. He fights over a quick flare screen from Drew Holiday and closes out onto Brown, contests the shot. So, a lot of activity all night from RJ, from the get-go to the final minutes of the game. And, of course, the offense was very solid. He did take some tough shots in a crowded paint with Porzingis down there, fading away sometimes and some tough turnovers. But, did he miss some reads and miss some kickouts? Yeah, but he also made some nice passes by collapsing the defense, too. He found Hartenstein inside early on. He found Brunson for a kick out in the third quarter by collapsing the defense. So he wasn't amazing at the rim, but he was good in the mid-range. He was fine from three-point land, and he got to the free throw line, which, that's what we keep preaching from RJ. We want to see that from him. That's where his efficiency increase will come from. He's so elite at getting past good defenses and bullying his way to the basket. He's not athletic, but he's strong and he's methodical. So if he could just work on knocking down those free throws like he did last night and continue to make better rim reads and finish left hand, right hand, we'll see that increase in efficiency. Mid first quarter, he gets around a great defensive player in Drew Holiday pretty easily. And then he finishes around KP with a tough layup. Second quarter, early on, he had a possession where he curls off of an Isaiah Hartenstein screen, stops on a dime, goes offhand, and he puts up a very off-balanced layup, but it was through contact for the and-one. Some really nice finishes. It was a great game last night from RJ on both ends of the floor. Nice sign. He was the second best player for the Knicks last night. The first best player being Immanuel Quickley, and he's getting the Bing Bong ball off the bench. 24 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, a steal, 2 turnovers, 64% from the field, 83% from the line, 5 for 7 from 3. He's playing for that money, man. He wants that money. That was a game that he wants to, that was a pay me game. Punishing the Celtics all night for going underneath the screen on him. I feel like they've been doing that to him his entire career. At some point, they got to start going over. But he was working extremely well with RJ Barrett in the second unit. He was moving the ball well, knocking down some very timely baskets. How about this kid's defense? We talked about RJ's, but damn, some of the best display of defense you can ask for a small guard. If you want examples of impeccable effort defensively, I've got 2. in this game that you can look at. 2 possessions. There was one play late in the first quarter. Quickley traps Horford on the baseline with Hartenstein. Then the ball swings its way around to Hauser in the opposite corner of the floor. And somehow there's Quickley already over there closing out and contesting a miss. Another possession earlier in the first quarter, there's a sequence where he closes out super hard on Porzingis. As soon as he checks into the game, he's closing out on a 7-3 shooter where he's going from the weak side elbow to the ball side elbow 3 to contest him. KP then misses the shot. The ball is eventually swung back around to him, but by the time it gets to KP a second time, Quickley recovers back into the play and he makes a nice deflection. He was just everywhere. He's always everywhere. He was doing it all last night defensively. He's running out there, just running around the floor everywhere at once, closing out extra hard, playing the passing lane, stunting drives, being disruptive on the ball on the point of attack, rebounding. And that garbage nonsense foul they called on him, where they said he went from A to B, that's nonsense. That was, you know what that was? That was the official having the Boston plus 4.5 spread. That's what that was. Because for one, Quickley went straight up. He went straight up. That A to B crap did not happen. I don't know what they were watching. If you watch that back, perfect example of how you should defend somebody. And 2, that whistle did not blow until Derek White missed the fucking shot. Then the whistle blew. That's a little sketchy to me. So that really bothered me. That was a big game changer right there. I did not think that was a foul. Great challenge there. Should have been overturned. But all in all, last night was a game where you just got to chalk up as a tough loss and you move on. Because the Knicks played hard, and if they continue to play hard, they're going to run into some wins. They have a tough schedule to start the year. Hopefully they bounce back against the Atlanta Hawks. We'll see. So we're going to wrap this up here. Head to our final break, get back and get to our trivia. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you have time in the day or maybe just prefer old-fashioned reading over listening, then you can always follow along and subscribe to BD4 Blog by going to BD4blog.com. We're not on there as often, but when we do post, it's just as entertaining, opinionated, and passionate as we are on this podcast. Thank you so much. And let's keep on with the show.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Welcome back to the show, episode 569 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to episode 569 of the podcast, BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. If you want to find us on YouTube, you can watch the video edit on YouTube and also Spotify. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We also have a website if you want to go to BD4blog.com, where I post some of the podcasts on there, the links to the podcast at least, and I also write my blog. You can follow us on social media. I'm on Facebook, BD4. I'm on Twitter, though I don't use it much, at BD4Pod. And I'm also on Instagram at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. So, I think we can wrap it up here with our trivia question. So let's get into that. All right, so in this episode 569, our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day is, last season, that was weird. Last season, the Knicks finished with 53 wins between the regular and postseason. Will they surpass that mark this year? Yes, this is an open-minded question. This is not a yes, no, right, wrong trivia. This is, I forgot that I put this one in here. This is an opinionated question. So last season, the Knicks finished with 53 wins between the regular and postseason. Will they surpass that mark this year? All right. I'm going to say, let's see, I have them for 45 wins in the regular. Let's say they win the first round. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. Second round, ooh, I'm going to say no. All right. So one final time. Last season, the Knicks finished with 53 wins between the regular and postseason. Will they surpass that mark this year? It's going to be tough. But again, all that matters is I would like to see them go into the second round and put up a fight again. Be nice to go into the third. We'll see. That's it for this show. All right, we'll stop it here at 40-something minutes. I think we covered everything we needed to. I don't want to overanalyze the first game of the year, so we'll let the season marinate. And as we get deeper into the season, we'll have some episodes where we go very deep and we analyze a lot. But as for the first game, tough to lose like that. Hate Boston, hate Porzingis, but let's come back Friday night in Atlanta against the overrated Hawks. Let's destroy Trae Young, who is the COVID king, right? Thinks he's tough. All right, that's it. Thank you for stopping by episode 569 in the books. I'm your host, RJ, and I'll see you next time. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you. And we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks.